Good to see you too. Could you walk us through what efforts have been made over the last 24 hours or so by the U.S. government to contact the North Korean government about Private King? And has the U.S. been able to ascertain where he's being held and his condition? And is there any further understanding about his motivations to flee or his state of mind at that moment?
So all good questions, Amr. I have a couple things at the top just to share so that folks are all tracking. As you know, yesterday the Department of Defense notified the next of kin. And so, as you mentioned, identified the individual as U.S. Army Private Travis King. The White House, Department of Defense, the State Department, and the UN are all continuing to work together on this matter to ascertain the information, the questions that you just asked me about his well-being and the whereabouts of Private King. We are still gathering all the facts. It is still very early on. I believe the Secretary himself of the Department of Defense said yesterday it might take us a little bit of time to ascertain all of that information. But again, we're gathering all the facts. But I want to be very clear that the administration has and will continue to actively work to ensure his safety and the return of Private King to us and to his family, obviously. So that includes what we're doing is outreach to the administration of Sweden and also South Korea as well on this matter. The Department of Defense, as I mentioned yesterday, has been engaged and having communications with its counterparts, the KPA, on the well-being of Private King. Again, we're working to ascertain all the facts, all the information that we can. And as soon as we have more to share, we certainly will. But our primary goal is to make sure that we ascertain his well-being, get a sense of how he's doing, but also clearly we are committed to bringing him home.
So fair to assume Sweden hasn't had any luck thus far with getting any answers from
So
the North Koreans?
Don't have anything to share on our conversation specifically on Private King as it relates to his where he is and his well-being. But I can tell you that we have been engaged since yesterday. I think I mentioned this at the podium that we've been engaged with Sweden and also South Korea.
If I just ask one more on the Competition Council thing. Generally, with the Council and some of these guidelines that have been rolled out, like the ones that have been rolled out today, Republican lawmakers and some business group have rolled this criticism that these efforts will lead to greater regulatory costs that leave the economy worse off. How do you ensure that any new regulatory burdens that don't undermine the savings you're trying to generate from consumers?
Look, so we're very confident in the actions that we announced today. And I also mentioned the other actions that we have announced about these hidden junk fees, right? And also the hearing aids. I mean, this is something the Competition Council has been very zeroed in on. And so we are confident that this will lead to the outcome that we certainly are trying to provide for the American people. As I mentioned, competition is a key pillar of the Bidenomics, and it is part of the President's agenda. We believe it's going to lower costs for American families in targeted areas. When you think about those surprise medical bills, I talked about the hearing aids, and so that's our focus. And I said this at the top, and I'll say it again, when it comes to capitalism without competition, then it isn't capitalism. We're talking about exploitation, and that's what the President is trying to deal with when you think about these big corporations that are gouging. They're gouging Americans. So the President's going to continue to do the work. The way that we see this as it comes to the President's competition agenda, we're talking about supporting pro small business, pro entrepreneur, pro worker, and pro consumer. And that is, we believe, Bidenomics in action. And so we're confident in that.